say 40, 50 miles per hour, whenever the noise comes in, and you take the steering wheel and you load the car side to side like this, you won't notice it as much. And usually the noise stays consistent with tire noise. When you actually have a problem with the tread and they're, wavy, it sharply changes pitch. It goes from being quiet to loud, depending on which way you load the car. That's a wheel bearing.
Did you know that in severe cases, a bad wheel bearing can cause your wheel to come clean off your car while driving? That's because a failed bearing can make your axle or spindle glow red hot, causing catastrophic failure. Want to prevent this nightmare? Here's what to listen for. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Could a noise you're ignoring lead to a catastrophic accident? It's a scary thought, but one you can't overlook. Cars speak to us in subtle ways long before something goes seriously wrong. And when it comes to wheel bearings, the sound they make might be the one clue standing between routine maintenance and a dangerous breakdown. But here's the tricky part. Many people don't recognize that noise for what it is. Worse, they mistake it for something else, like an issue with their tires or brakes. That misunderstanding not only delays repairs, but can lead to bigger, more costly problems. Let's start with the basics. What does a bad wheel bearing actually sound like? It's not just one noise. It's a range of sounds, depending on how far gone the bearing is. Imagine a low-pitched hum, like the kind of drone you'd hear from an airplane cabin. That's one of the more common early warning signs. Then consider a growling sound, not so different from a deep guttural noise like an angry dog. That usually hints the wear is getting worse. And here's another. A high-pitched chirping, as if a persistent bird got caught somewhere in your car. These sounds aren't just random. Their intensity often changes as your speed increases. That hum or growl grows louder the faster you go, making it nearly impossible to ignore once it progresses. Think of it this way. You're cruising down the road, and everything seems fine except for this faint humming in the background. It might even stay at a consistent tone for a while. But days or weeks later, that hum turns into something more aggressive. Now it's a rhythmic growling at 45 miles per hour or even louder as you hit highway speeds. And if you ignore it, the noises snowball until they're practically deafening. Those sounds are the only way your car can warn you that something inside the mechanics isn't right. But what makes a failing wheel bearing sound so unique compared to other potential issues? One key distinction is its consistency. Unlike the thumping sounds often tied to a bad tire or the clicking of a worn-out CV joint, a bad wheel bearing creates a noise that doesn't depend on whether you're braking, cornering, or moving on a smooth versus rough surface. Research confirms this, showing that the sound pattern remains steady no matter how the road changes beneath you. That's a big deal because it separates wheel bearing issues from dozens of other problems your car might eventually face. For example, if you think it's the tires, you might spend hundreds replacing them when, in reality, the true culprit is hiding deeper inside the wheel assembly. Here's where things get really critical. Misdiagnosing a bad wheel bearing, or worse, ignoring it entirely, can cost you a lot more than frustration. Think about replacing parts that didn't need fixing in the first place or waiting until the bearing fails completely. By then, the damage often extends to other areas like the tire or suspension, leading to repair bills that can quickly spiral out of control. And don't forget, a failing wheel bearing isn't just bad for your bank account. Left unchecked, it can lead to dangerous situations on the road. Drivers have reported broken axles and even wheels detaching mid-ride, scenarios easily prevented by catching the warning sounds early. So here's the takeaway. If your car produces a growing hum, a persistent growl, or even that nagging chirp, pay attention. And if these noises ramp up as you increase your speed, you're likely dealing with a bad wheel bearing. Don't wait for the sound to get worse or for something catastrophic to happen. Knowing what to listen for now could save you from bigger problems down the line. And here's something you'll want to stick around for. Why do bad wheel bearings go from inconvenient to outright dangerous so fast? In the next part, we'll break down exactly what's happening inside a failing bearing and why this problem doesn't just resolve itself. How does a small hum turn into a life-threatening issue? It all starts inside the wheel bearing itself, where tiny steel balls or rollers rotate within a smooth metal track called the race. Under normal conditions, these parts are cushioned by grease, allowing them to spin freely without friction. But when a wheel bearing begins to fail, that protective lubrication starts to break down. Without it, the steel components grind directly against each other, creating the humming or growling sounds we've already talked about. That grinding isn't just loud, it's destructive. Every mile you drive with a bad bearing makes the damage worse, as friction increases and heat builds up within the assembly. Contamination plays a huge role in this deterioration. Road salt, water, mud, and sand can seep past the bearing seals, mixing with the grease and turning it into a gritty sludge. Think of it like sandpaper being introduced into a machine built for precision. Instead of lubricating, this contaminated grease starts to act like a grinding paste, wearing down the steel surfaces even faster. Over time, tiny metal flakes chip off from the races and rollers, further accelerating the bearing's degradation. This creates a snowball effect, where the bearing not only gets noisier but also becomes weaker and less reliable with every rotation. As the problem worsens, the heat generated by constant friction becomes another serious issue. Wheel bearings are under constant load, and when they fail, that load doesn't just disappear. It transfers to other crucial components nearby. The excessive friction can cause the bearing to overheat, which in turn damages the axle or spindle it's connected to. In extreme cases, the heat buildup becomes so intense that it compromises the structural integrity of the axle itself. A hot axle or spindle isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a catastrophic failure waiting to happen. At this point, the risk of a total breakdown or worse, a wheel detaching mid-drive, becomes alarmingly real. What if you could catch this issue early and save yourself thousands of dollars? A failing wheel bearing doesn't just make your car noisier, it sends out warning signs long before things spiral out of control. The trick is knowing where to look. While strange noises are usually the first red flag, they're not the only clue. A bad wheel bearing can affect how your car drives, leading to symptoms like steering instability, unexplained vibrations, uneven tire wear, and even the vehicle pulling to one side. These signs are just as critical as the noise, but they often go unnoticed until the damage is already done. Take steering instability, for example. This might feel like your car is wandering slightly instead of holding a straight line, or like the steering wheel feels loose or unsteady. These issues are more apparent at higher speeds or when turning, where small changes in the wheel bearing cause noticeable instability. Compared to a car with a healthy bearing, this might seem minor at first, but the longer it continues, the harder it becomes to maintain control. Now add in vibrations through the steering wheel, which grow stronger as the vehicle speeds up. That shaking isn't just annoying, it's your first warning that something's wrong. And here's a critical point. While vibrations can also stem from issues like unbalanced tires, a failing wheel bearing often produces vibrations that worsen over time, especially during turns. Uneven tire wear is another major symptom, and it's often overlooked until the damage is severe. If you've noticed one tire wearing down faster than the others, there's a good chance your wheel bearing is to blame. A bad bearing causes uneven distribution of weight and irregular wheel alignment, which translates directly into abnormal tire wear. Of course, uneven wear could also result from issues like misaligned suspension or improper tire inflation. So the key is to pair this symptom with others, like steering instability or noise, to confirm it's tied to the bearing. The message here is simple. If you notice symptoms like vibrations, uneven tire wear, or pulling during braking, act fast. Ignoring these signs only gives the problem more time to cause damage, not just to your car, but possibly to you and other drivers. If you suspect a bad wheel bearing, don't wait. Get your vehicle inspected by a trusted mechanic immediately to ensure your safety and avoid letting a manageable issue turn into an expensive ordeal. Ignoring the signs of a bad wheel bearing isn't just risky, it's dangerous. A damaged bearing doesn't just stay isolated. It spreads wear and tear to critical parts like the hub, CV joint, or even your transmission. According to Gary Hardesty, delaying diagnosis and repair will only increase the overall cost as other components may be damaged. Your car is already giving you clues: noises, vibrations, uneven tire wear. It's up to you to act. Listen closely, check for symptoms, and consult a trusted mechanic immediately. Your safety and your wallet depend on catching this issue early before it's too late.